Howdy folks, welcome back to Super Hamster Plays Kingdom Death Monster. As ever, do me a favour, hit the thumbs up button on this video, and if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Kingdom Death Monster. Hopefully you've seen my first two videos, which was an extended look at the contents of the game, edition 1.5. First video being looking at all the cardboard components, and the second video having a look at all these lovely miniatures which are over there. In this video we will be assembling the beginning survivors, which are located here, 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 and split into lots of tiny pieces here, and the lion, which is pretty much the other half of this sprue, ignoring this guy and all the big choppy things. But yeah, so we've got 4 humans to make up on 30mm bases and 1 lion to make up on a 50mm base. So I'll be bringing up a picture here highlighting each of the pieces as we go, but we'll start off with Survivor A, and the pieces are all labelled, so let's start with my trusty clippers, and we'll remove these pieces here. And this is piece A1 if you're following along at home, and that is the main body of the start, starting one of the starting heroes, so piece A1, and then I need to find all the other A pieces. So that's A5, that's A6, that is A4, and A1 we've got. What do we got down the bottom? A3 looks like the stone, and somewhere in there must be a bearded face, because we're missing a bearded face. There it is, A2, and that should be all 6 pieces of this character. All 6 pieces? Yeah, 6 pieces. So we'll set him over there, and then we'll find B, C and D, and then I'll bring you back. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that musical interlude. There's the 4 survivors and all of their pieces chopped out. Ooh, set the camera off there. I don't know how well it's going to show up, but I have deliberately, when I cut the miniatures, left some significantly sized pieces off, because you don't want to get too close with something as clumsy as clippers. You don't want to try and get right down to the nub like that. So I'm going off there, and now I can go back in with my craft knife, which is nice and sharp, and trim all those pieces off. So that's what I'll be doing now. First thing I'm going to do is show you what I'm using. These are hard plastic, so liquid polystyrene cement. I use Slater's Mech Pack, mostly because you can buy it in such huge bottles, but this stuff is noxious. If you open the glue and the room doesn't stink by the time you're finished, you're probably not using the right stuff. But this essentially melts the hard plastic, and hopefully this will show up. But just going to brush it gently over the whole surface, and then do the same on this side, and it'll look like it's evaporating really quickly. I then go over the first one and give a quick rehab or resplash. But yeah, that plastic is now melting, and when you put the two together, the two melted sides join, and as that continues to evaporate, you end up with theoretically a single piece of plastic. I doubt it's down to like the molecular level or anything, but yeah, we'll see. Okay, let's continue with these bases. And the other thing that you can do with this stuff, which I'll probably be showing you later, is you can actually apply it after you've put the pieces together. Being, well, it's the thickness of water or alcohol or something, capillary action will actually draw it into the tiny crevices. So you can do a dry fit, and if you can hold it in place as you go, you can then apply the glue after the fact. You can also use it for if you're creating a joint where the two pieces aren't quite joined, there's a slight gap. You can melt, apply slightly excessive amounts of glue near that edge, and the sort of, if you've got a joint where the two pieces come together and you've got this V up here, if you melt that glue, they'll slowly sort of fill in, and you can smooth out that hard edge. Yeah, you'll see what I mean if we need to. But yeah, with this stuff, with hard plastic, don't use super glue, because you won't get a decent join first time unless you're really lucky, and once it's in there you won't be able to move it. Whereas this stuff, you can't tell here because it's such a snug fit, but actually while they're still sort of pliable, you can move them around and get it exactly lined up the way you want it, and then it'll set. So there we go. So we got 3 bases, so that's a good start. 3 bases, and this base here, the first one I did. So 4 in total. Nice cover, Supa Hamsta. And we're going to start with this guy, who looks like he wants to be an extra in a Thor movie. So he's got a separate face, and with that beard he could be an extra in a Thor movie. He's got an extra leg, he's got a spare hand to go up here, and he's got a couple of pieces of loincloth, which I am not actually sure where they go, because he's got a leg at the back. Okay, it looks like one of those pieces of loincloth comes over that way, maybe, or it might be this one. Yeah, I think it's this one, and then that probably joins up on there somehow. But yeah, we'll have a look at that one. If you go to, what was the website? It is build.kingdomdeath.com. They've actually got a pictorial diagram showing you which pieces go where. So I'm going to be applying these, using those as a bit of a guide. You can't see it just off the screen here, but I've got my iPad up, which isn't an iPad, it's just a tablet, but everyone says iPad. Which shows me which pieces go where and in which order. So we'll do that, and let's put his face the right way around. There's actually a small lug on the back here to get it all lined up. But yeah, so that's him. I'll show you a close-up in a minute, but there is actually a slight gap between the top of his forehead and the bottom of his scalp. Don't know if that's going to show up terribly well. But yeah, so what I'm going to do with that is, as I said earlier, just go over that with a little bit of glue, and that should fill in just enough that when I apply the paint, that'll fill in quite nicely. So next up is to attach his back leg. So quick dry fit, and which is a fit using no glue, and there's a little slot down this side of his leg that lines up with a little tab in there, so it should be quite easy to get lined up. Shouldn't be too much trouble at all. One thing you do have to be careful with polystyrene cement is if it does flow. I've got a bit of an overflow and it's come over his loincloth. If I touch that now, this plastic is now so soft my thumb will sink in and I'll end up with a thumbprint, which I really don't want. Yeah, so we won't be doing that. Next would be this piece of his loincloth as suspected. And yeah, it does look like that goes there. And this one's going to be a bit of a free play. There's a bit of wiggle room there, so we'll have to get that lined up correctly. And then this piece, by the looks of it, joins. Is it that way? Maybe it might be in there. Yeah, it is. There's a groove in there. I think, is that right? It joins up like that. So by having that piece join up there. Yeah. And then on the other side. Yeah, okay. I think I've got how that sussed goes now. So tiny bit of glue on that side. And some glue on that side. And line the creases up. Yeah, it looks to be about right. But yeah, it's still soft, so we've got some adjusting time anyway, which, as I said before, you would not have if you were doing that with super glue. Come on, camera, come back. Yeah, there we go. So that's going like that, joining up around the back. Is that right? No, it doesn't join up around the back. It joins up in the front and is like an extra flap. So where does that piece go? Like that. And that butts up there. just doesn't look right. So I'm just looking at more pictures of. There's a behind the rear-facing shot and a front-facing, and I'm just flicking backwards and forwards between the two. It just doesn't quite look the way it's supposed to. Well, one thing I am going to do, I'm going to stick him to the base, because that will hold him upright while I... So again, small amount on his feet. Work out where I want to put him. Dab there, and a dab there. Set him a little further back. Try and keep the centre of mass over the centre of the see, he's fairly central there. And if you look that way, he's leaning forward a bit this way, but that's fine, he's advancing. So what I'm going to do is I'll leave him for the moment. I'll let that piece set, and then we'll stick those two on afterwards. It's the easy one. This one I think we're going to do in stages. There's a lot of pieces here, a lot of small pieces, a lot of overlap, a lot of bits wrapping around. So let's try and find the best picture for her. This character is on the website is known as Lucy, and the first piece it suggests to stick is this leg to that body, and she's somewhat hunched over. She's sort of creeping around, but yeah, that'll fit. So again, there's like a little tab, or there's a slot on this side, and this piece is angled to fit in. A bit of a pig's ear of that. Piece it all together now, and let's go over there and smooth out that piece. Seal up the cracks a little bit. And then we want to go ahead and attach her other leg, which, yeah, that'll fit. There's not a lot of wiggle room, for want of a better term, on these models at this stage. I understand that the ones later on have quite a bit of wiggle room. As far as versatility, I think might be a better word than wiggle room, as to how you want to put them together. But these four in particular, presumably being the original four, are very much a case of they go together in a particular way. The rest of her sheet will fit across there. I was gonna hold off from doing that, but if I do it now, if I've got the legs slightly out of alignment, I'll still be able to move them. That brush that I'm using there, by the way, is purely for this stuff. I will not use that brush to paint with. I will not use a paintbrush in there because it'll just make an absolute mess of each other. You'll end up with paint in your glue, which will stop it from working and will stain the miniature that you're putting together. And if I use one of my decent paintbrushes in there, that will just absolutely ruin the paintbrush. So. And that's where we'll stop with her for now. We'll let those set for a bit before we attach the arms. And we'll come back to this. Right, so we have this outstretched arm that's going in there, and then this one that's reaching across her body, I believe. If I can just find the flat edge, it's there. Have I got these two round the wrong way? Or is it a downward one? Oh no, I'm pretty sure it actually, yeah, I think it's a downward one. Just double check that one. Yeah, this isn't the one that's got her arm coming across. So, right arm, wrong shape. Yeah. A flat piece there. Yeah, a little bit of shoulder. And again, there's a couple of tiny cracks which I will attempt to seal with some of this stuff. And then the other arm, yeah, fits in there quite nicely. Yep, you can tell this is polystyrene cement. Just trying to get that flush there. And again, smoothing out the bumps. It's out. So again, she'll sit quite nicely about there. She's walking on her toes, so the joint on this one is tiny. So I'm going to have to hold this one here for just a few seconds. Yeah, so that's her. And although I've got her off center on the base, because our arm's extended, it keeps sort of a box, you know, for around the window or around the model. And see, she's fairly central if you look straight down. Might move her over just a fraction more, actually, just across to there. And then, as I was saying before, with the capillary action, just add a bit more glue around the edges. And that will get sucked under her feet into the joint. Okay, so here we are back. I did notice at the end of the last video that I got round to attaching the that part of the loincloth, so I had a bit of a fiddle with that, which which was a bit of an awkward piece to do, but it's done now. And of course touching his hand, which was pretty straightforward. But yeah, so there's our 4 survivors done. I've now cut out all the pieces. There are 12 pieces, just to confuse you, it's numbered 1 through 11, but these two are part 3-1 and part 3-2. I don't know why they're not just 3 and 4, but there you go. So yeah, there's all these pieces of the lion, and we're going to stick them together. So we will start off by adding the lower jaw to one of the pieces, just to get a good fit there. And then we'll have to be fairly quick, because whilst we've still got some wiggle room, I need to get the other half in place. That looks pretty good to me. So yeah, I'll see if I can hold him without touching the sides. Start off with some glue on this one, or some cement. I shouldn't call it glue because it's not actually adhesive. Technically there is a difference in that adhesive, i.e. glue, sticks to things, whereas cement bonds to things but isn't actually sticky in itself. So if you've got side A and side B, a glue would stick to side A, and then the same glue would stick to side B, holding the 2 pieces next to each other, whereas a cement will bond piece A to piece B. So there you go. If you weren't actually sure of the definition, there you go. And if you think that was impressive, I made it up on the fly, so I've no actually idea if it's true. But it sounded good, so yeah, go for it. Never know, it might come up in a pub quiz or something. Yeah, we've got a slight seam down there, which we probably wouldn't even see anyway, because that's the underside. And we've got a seam across the top of his hair. And yes, I already know what you're saying in the comments. I know too. I'm setting myself up for a joke later on. Next piece. Upper half of the head, which slots into that position, and yeah, it does slot into that little hole. And I know in the earlier in the video I was saying about you should test fit all these pieces. I actually test fitted it before I started recording, so this is as far as I've got. And yeah, they fit in there quite nicely. There is a bit of a gap, but I figure if I hold him in there for a few seconds while he sets, a little bit of glue around the edge, I'm pretty sure that that will get covered up by the paint anyway, and certainly by the shading when we come to apply that at the painting stage. Yeah, there's our lion's head. Rawr. Right, what do we want next? Next we're looking at the front paws, and I say paws, these look very much like hands and fingers to me, but there you go. So we'll start off by gluing these two, or joining these 2 pieces. Having just told you the definition, or the difference between a glue and a cement, I should probably stick with the right term. But yeah, so let's bond these 2 pieces together. And that gives them a few seconds to set a little bit before we come to apply. Now, I definitely want to make sure that the front is the better looking side. So if I've got to line up one right over the other, it's going to be the front, because that's the one you're going to see. Actually, that's pretty good. Slide him up a tiny bit. Push him down. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. Flatten him out. Yeah, and we'll just leave him. No, not going to stand up. This guy's the front guy, so that's that one. So he's got a little hand out. Fits quite nicely. Nice deep recess. Shouldn't have any trouble keeping the cement in there. And take most of it off and just flatten out the bulges. That's sealed quite nicely. And check the opposite side. This one is also a hand, but he's leaning on it as if it were a foot. So it's going to be a bit more of a pig to join, and I have done what I didn't want to do, which is touch there, and I've stretched it. So actually I'm going to leave that for the moment and give that a second to harden off, and we'll look at the back end, which will be a case of joining these two pieces together. Where do they go? They go like that. Yeah. It doesn't look like there's a lot to line them up on, so I'm thinking I might have to just go directly into there, onto either side. Yeah, I think that's the way to do it. So we'll start with the same side, so I don't have to push on the back. A little generous, because this one's going to be a bit fiddly, and I'm probably going to have to move it a little bit. Is that the one? That is the one. You want to get that back lined up. And then I'll get the other one in place. Again, I'm trying not to put my finger there. And then, yeah, that will fit nicely. So yeah, plans for the series. I'm basically going to keep playing the game, starting with the starting year, the prologue mission, which will be these four fighting this guy. And assuming we survive that, I'll post that video. I'll then be recording a video of the downtime, the settlement phase, I think it's called, where we work out what we do with the parts of the lion that we've harvested and work on building up our settlement and experience points for the characters in the fight, and maybe we'll have a couple of random events. Who knows? But yeah, I'm going to record a session of the gameplay on the board, and then probably a shorter session afterwards where I'm looking at all the options and deciding what to do on that front for the settlement. And the joke I was going for earlier is, as I said earlier, this guy is definitely a guy, as you can tell as he's quite clearly displaying his mane. Nothing else to see here. Get that front foot on now, or that front paw, hand, however you want to describe it. Let's get it on now. problem with these big areas is you have to be a bit overly generous with the cement, as they have a tendency to dry out maybe too much before you can finish coating the whole thing. Yeah, that's a fairly large gap on this side, and I don't think I'm going to be able to fill that with just the plastic, so I'm going to have to come back afterwards with some green stuff. Probably some liquid green stuff will get that done. It's a fairly small gap, but it's going to show up if I just paint over it. So, plus it gives me a chance to do a video on liquid green stuff, which will be a very short video. Yeah, that's that. And then we've got 2 feet to apply. One to that side. Let's dry fit that guy. Oh. I need to get some better ventilation in this room when I'm using that stuff. I think when I finish putting these together, I'm going to go and have a lie down in a dark room. So that's him. Again, let the plastic melt a tiny bit and then squash it up to seal that gap at the back. And then the same on the front. That fits quite nicely. What are we doing on the time? Yeah, not too bad. I didn't want this to be a particularly long video. Yeah, I suspect if I put in a few sped up bits when I'm doing the survivors, I'll edit some of the pieces out. There should be about my usual length video. Most of the videos I do are about 25-30 minutes long. Quick bit to hide, melt the joins a little bit. On both sides. And then finally we need to apply the guy's tail, and I'm going to take that burr off just in case, because I can't do a true dry fit on this guy because there was so much glue on the back end. Down in that recess where they join, but essentially that'll fit in there, and yeah, that fits nicely. Plenty of glue in that whole section. Plenty of glue on the flat areas of the tail. Stub the tail into the hole in the back. Ooh, misses. And there is my very male white lion. And it was the knot. When I was cleaning up this area of the base, the underside, the only join point is on the top lip, which is a bit of a shame because it'd be a lot easier to clean if it was on the side. But if I put that area on the back, I'm working on the principle that I won't see it. In fact, if I do him that way, he's going to overhang the base at both ends and his foot will be directly over it, so that'll work quite nicely. One there, right. So glue on that. There again, get some cement on those paws, front and back. Some more glue on the base in those 3 points that I'd already marked with some of the cement. And a bit further around. Get him as central as I can. That's not too bad. Push him back just a fraction. Yeah, his foot's now directly over. That's where the crease point is. And his foot's directly over it, so you just won't see it. Yeah, quick splash of glue around the joins just to get them Really well bonded. I called it glue again, didn't I? God. It's a good job I want to get this video out as soon as possible and get this campaign started, because my OCD would just be going mental. And then you have it. We have our white lion, and we have our 4 survivors. So join me in the next video, where we'll be taking these guys out onto the board, playing the prologue, seeing who survives. Hopefully you found this video useful, entertaining, informative, none of the above, or if you just feel sympathy for me, give me a thumbs up, give me a like on this video, it helps me immensely. And of course, if you want to continue watching the series, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well. Help Supa Hamsta take over YouTube, 1 subscriber at a time. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Bye bye. Bye for now.